Have you ever felt pressured to forgive someone who hurt you deeply, even though they never truly apologized? Society tells us that forgiveness is the key to freedom, that if you can't forgive, you'll stay trapped in your pain. But what happens when the person you're supposed to forgive is a narcissist, someone who never admits their faults, never changes, and keeps hurting you over and over again? Today, I want you to set aside everything you've been told about forgiveness. Instead of focusing on forgiving the narcissist, let's talk about forgiving yourself first. You are not to blame for being manipulated. You are not to blame for loving the wrong person. You are not to blame for believing in false promises. And most importantly, you are not obligated to forgive someone who doesn't deserve it. In this video, we'll uncover the truth about forgiveness in narcissistic relationships. The things self-help books never tell you. We'll break down the social pressure that forces you to forgive, expose how narcissists exploit forgiveness as a free pass, and, most importantly, I'll show you how to find true liberation, not by forgiving the narcissist, but by loving and forgiving yourself. Are you ready to break free from the toxic cycle and take back control of your life? Let's dive into the truth. And if you find this content helpful, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any videos designed to help you heal and thrive after narcissistic relationships. I remember the exact day I realized I was trapped in an endless cycle of meaningless forgiveness. It was with my father. Ever since I was a child, I tried my best to make him proud. I got good grades, behaved well, and became the perfect child he wanted. But no matter what I did, it was never enough. He always found something to criticize. A small mistake, a moment of weakness, something that wasn't perfect by his standards. And if I ever tried to stand up for myself, he would make me feel like an ungrateful, selfish child. Every time he hurt me with his sharp words and cold control, I told myself, he doesn't mean it. He just doesn't know how to show love. I believed that if I forgave him enough times, if I kept enduring, one day he would change. One day he would realize I just wanted his love, but that day never came. For years I lived in the illusion that forgiveness could heal everything. I forgave him over and over again, but he never changed. In fact, he became even more convinced that he had done nothing wrong. He continued blaming me for being too sensitive, for not appreciating everything he did for me. And then one day I broke. I couldn't do it anymore. I realized that forgiving him didn't mean I had to keep him in my life. I could forgive him without allowing him to keep hurting me. I sat down and wrote a letter I never sent. In it, I poured out everything. The pain he had caused, the times I tried to understand him, the moments I blamed myself for his inability to love me the way I needed. And in the end, I wrote that I forgave him. Not because he deserved it, but because I deserved to be free from this past. Forgiving a narcissist is not an invitation for them to continue hurting you. It is an act of freeing yourself from the invisible chains they've tied around you. I no longer waited for my father to change. I didn't need his apology to move forward. I forgave him, but I also chose distance to protect my own peace. And I want you to understand this too. You are not obligated to forgive if it only brings you more pain. But if you choose to forgive, do it not for them, but for you, so that you can live a life no longer haunted by old wounds. Forgiveness doesn't mean going back. Forgiveness means walking away, lighter and freer than before. We are often taught that forgiveness is a noble quality, that if you don't forgive, you will remain trapped in suffering. But what happens when the person you are advised to forgive is a narcissist? Someone who feels no remorse, does not change, and continues to hurt you over and over again. In healthy relationships, forgiveness can help heal and rebuild trust. But in a relationship with a narcissist, forgiveness does not set you free. It only grants them more power to manipulate you further. Carl Jung, the great psychologist, once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." When you continue to forgive a narcissist without recognizing their true nature, you unintentionally perpetuate a cycle of abuse. Not because you are weak, but because you have not fully realized that they will never change. Forgiveness is often based on the assumption that the person being forgiven will learn from their mistakes, feel remorse, and strive to do better. But narcissists lack this ability. Studies on narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, have shown that one of their core characteristics is a complete lack of empathy. Dr. Ramani Dovazula, a leading expert on narcissistic psychology, emphasizes, narcissists don't change because they don't think they need to. They don't believe they are the problem. They do not feel guilty for hurting you because they do not see your feelings as important. When they apologize, it is not out of true remorse, but because they want to manipulate you in a way that benefits them. If you forgive them, they do not see it as an opportunity for growth, but as a sign that they can continue to abuse you without consequences. Narcissists have a special ability to pull you into a cycle of manipulation. They use various psychological tactics to ensure that you cannot leave them, and your forgiveness becomes one of their strongest weapons to maintain control. One of the most common tactics is gaslighting, a form of psychological manipulation that makes you doubt your own perceptions and memory. If you confront them about their behavior, they will respond with phrases like, "You're imagining things again," or "You're always overreacting." Over time, you begin to believe that maybe you really are being too sensitive, that you are wrong and they are right. Another tactic is hoovering. When they sense that you are about to leave, they will try to pull you back in. They may pretend to be weak, promise to change, or even do loving things you have longed for. But once they regain control, they will return to their true selves, and the cycle of abuse will continue. If you forgive them, they will take it as proof that you are still under their control, and they will continue to hurt you, knowing that no matter what they do, you will always come back. Dr. Judith Herman, a psychologist specializing in trauma, once wrote, "Recovery can only take place within the context of relationships. It cannot occur in isolation. But the important thing is that the relationship must be healthy. If you continuously maintain a toxic relationship with a narcissist, you will never truly heal." Many people remain trapped in the cycle of forgiveness because they believe it is the only way to find peace. But forgiveness is not a prerequisite for your freedom. More important is learning to let go. To let go of the belief that they will change, to let go of the need for their validation, and to let go of the emotional responsibility they have placed on your shoulders. The painful truth is that narcissists never acknowledge their mistakes, nor do they have any motivation to change. They do not care about your feelings, and whether you forgive them or not does not affect them, but it does affect you. It can keep you trapped in a cycle of abuse, robbing you of the chance to find true peace. One of the biggest misconceptions about forgiveness is that you must forgive in order to move on. But that is not true. You can continue with your life without forgiving the person who hurt you. What you do need to do is forgive yourself for staying too long, for believing the lies, for hoping for a change that never came. Dr. Harriet Lerner, a renowned psychologist, says, "You don't have to forgive to find peace. You just have to let go of the hope that the past could have been any different. When you let go, you take back control of your life. You do not need an apology from them to live a happy life. You do not need their validation to know that you are worthy of love. And most importantly, you do not need to forgive them to be free." Narcissists do not change, they do not feel remorse, and they will continue to hurt you if you give them the chance. Forgiving them does not make them better, nor does it help you heal. It only keeps you stuck in the cycle of suffering they have created. Instead of forgiving, set boundaries. Protect yourself. Reserve forgiveness for those who deserve it. And that person is you. Forgive yourself, let go of the past, and walk forward with the self-respect and peace you have always deserved. Forgiving yourself first. We often talk about forgiveness as a gift we give to others, but the most important gift you can give is forgiveness to yourself. No one who has been in a relationship with a narcissist walks away without at some point blaming themselves. You might ask, why didn't I see the truth sooner? Why did I give them so many chances? Why wasn't I strong enough to leave earlier? But all of these questions only pull you deeper into the guilt and shame that the narcissist planted in you to keep you under their control. Now is the time to realize you are not to blame. You are not at fault for believing in sweet words in the beginning. You are not at fault for hoping that love could change them. You are not at fault for doing your best to make things better. But narcissists do not operate by the same rules you do. They do not learn from mistakes, they do not grow from others' pain, and they will not change, no matter how many times you forgive them. Dr. Janina Fisher, a leading expert on trauma psychology, once said, "Shame and self-blame are survival strategies, not the truth." When you were in a relationship with a narcissist, you unconsciously learned to blame yourself as a way to maintain the relationship and minimize conflict. You were manipulated into believing that if you were good enough, patient enough, loving enough, things would change, but they never did. Because the problem was never you, it was always them, breaking the cycle of self-blame. Narcissists have a unique ability to make you believe that every problem in the relationship is your fault. If they cheated, it was because you were too controlling. If they exploded in rage, it was because you provoked them. If they left, it was because you were not good enough. They plant the idea that if only you changed, the relationship would improve. And once you believe that, you enter an endless cycle of self-blame. To break free from this cycle, you need to change the story you tell yourself. No, you were not the reason the narcissist mistreated you. No, you are not responsible for their behavior. And no, you did not deserve what they did to you. Dr. Kristin Neff, a leading researcher on self-compassion, stated, "Self-compassion involves treating yourself with the same kindness and care that you would offer a friend. Imagine a close friend going through what you have gone through. Would you blame them? Or would you tell them that they deserve better? If you can extend kindness to others, why not to yourself? Forgiving yourself is a process, not a single moment. Many people think of forgiveness as something that happens instantly, as if you simply decide to forgive yourself and all guilt disappears. But forgiving yourself is a process, and it takes time. The first step is recognizing your self-blaming thoughts and learning to challenge them. When you feel regret for staying too long, remind yourself that you did the best you could with the knowledge you had at the time. When you feel angry at yourself for believing their lies, remember that narcissists are master manipulators. Even the smartest people can fall into their traps. When you feel ashamed for letting them control you, understand that they use deliberate psychological tactics to make that happen. The next step is learning to let go. Not letting go in the sense of forgetting everything, but releasing yourself from emotions that no longer serve you. You don't need to live in regret. You don't need to punish yourself for the past. What happened does not define who you are. What you do from this moment forward is what truly matters. You don't need their forgiveness. You only need your own. You may have once thought that if the narcissist admitted their mistakes and apologized, you would feel at peace. But the truth is, even if that happened, it wouldn't erase the pain you endured. True freedom doesn't come from an apology from them. It comes from releasing the need for validation from them. Dr. Harriet Lerner once said, "Forgiveness is not a gift you give someone else. It is something you do for yourself." You don't need their forgiveness to move forward. You don't need to prove anything to them. You only need to learn how to forgive yourself. And when you do that, you are truly free. You are a person of immense worth. You are not the wounds that others have inflicted on you. You are not the mistakes of your past. You deserve a better life. And that begins with you, with self-forgiveness, self-compassion, and self-love. Forgiving yourself is not a sudden breakthrough, but a long journey. One that requires you to face your deepest emotions, understand yourself better, and commit to your own healing. If you have ever been trapped in a relationship with a narcissist, you may be carrying an invisible burden, guilt, regret, and unanswered questions. But remember that you cannot change the past, but you can change how you perceive it. And most importantly, you can choose how you treat yourself from today onward. So how do you truly let go of guilt and move forward with freedom. Accept and confront your own emotions. You cannot forgive yourself if you continue to deny your emotions. Many people believe that the best way to forget the past is to push it out of their minds, but in reality that only buries the pain deeper and causes it to resurface even more intensely later. To truly heal, you need to allow yourself to feel. Let yourself feel sadness when thinking about the pain you have experienced. Let the anger surface when you remember the times you were manipulated. Acknowledge the disappointment when you realize you had hoped for something that could never happen. These emotions are not your enemies. They are signs that you are still confronting your wounds. And only when you accept them can you truly let go. Dr. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." If you keep suppressing these emotions, they will continue to haunt you in ways you do not recognize. But when you allow yourself to feel, you are reclaiming control over your life. Understand the root cause to free yourself from guilt. Narcissists have a unique ability to make you feel that everything is your fault. They manipulate you into believing that if you loved them more, if you were more patient, if you were perfect, then things would have been different. But the truth is, there was nothing you could have done to change them, because the problem was never you. It was them. Understanding narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, will help you see what truly happened. When you realize that they cannot change because they do not want to change, you will stop blaming yourself for trying to help them become a better person. When you understand that they manipulated you not because you were weak, but because they knew how to exploit your kindness, you will no longer feel guilty. Dr. Remani Durvasula, a leading expert on narcissistic psychology, has said, "Narcissists don't change because they don't think they need to." When you understand this, you will realize that nothing you did could have changed the outcome because that outcome was never in your hands. Focus on the present and future instead of being stuck in the past. The past can bring lessons, but it should not be a prison that keeps you trapped. If you keep replaying what happened, blaming yourself for things you could not control, you are allowing the narcissist to occupy your mind even when they are no longer in your life. Instead of letting your mind get stuck in what could have been, ask yourself, what can I do right now to build the future I want? Set small but meaningful goals. Start by trying a new activity, reconnecting with people who genuinely care about you, or taking time to rediscover yourself. Every time you choose to focus on the present, every time you take a step forward, you are affirming that you are no longer a victim of the past, but the one who decides your own future. Take care of yourself with real compassion. Forgiving yourself is not just a concept in your mind, it is also about how you treat your body and soul. Your body has endured damage from years of stress, and now is the time to heal both physically and mentally. Listen to your body. Exercise, not to change your appearance, but to feel stronger. Eat healthy, not because of pressure to be perfect, but because you deserve to be nourished with the best. Get enough sleep, not because of some health rule, but because sleep is an act of self-love. Additionally, seek support when needed. You do not have to go through this journey alone. Talk to trusted friends, join support communities, or seek therapy if you need guidance. Seeking help does not mean you are weak. It means you are strong enough to take care of yourself. Forgiving yourself does not mean erasing the past. It means freeing yourself from the chains of self-blame. It does not mean forgetting what happened, but accepting it as part of your journey and learning how to move forward. You are no longer the person you were in the past. You are no longer bound by old mistakes. You are no longer living the story the narcissist wrote for you. From this moment forward, you are the one writing the next chapter of your life. And that chapter begins with compassion, strength, and freedom.